and do this. So what our focus, this is for the homework 2.3, and we're trying to figure out how to graph a line in standard form using intercepts. All right. Graph a line in standard form using intercepts. So we need a little bit of vocabulary to understand what's going on here. The first bit of vocabulary that we need, I'm going to mark it off in orange, is standard form. So what is standard form? Standard form is simply ax plus by equals c. Okay? This is different than the form that we're used to, right? This is different than the form that we're used to. The form that we're used to is slope-intercept form, right? Slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, okay? And we'll do that one in red. And so what we normally do if we got an equation that looked like this is we would try to get it into slope-intercept form, and then we'd graph it from there. And so what I want you guys to know after today is I want us to be able to graph it without doing that, without having to change it to slope-intercept form. We're going to learn how to graph just from standard form. And we're going to do that by understanding what intercepts are, okay? What intercepts are. Now, we've talked a little bit about the y-intercept, right? We've talked a little bit how in slope-intercept form, the b is the y-intercept. And when we do work with that, I'll draw a quick little, this is going to be a rough sketch. This isn't going to be perfect, right? If I do something like this, or do something like this. And let's say I had a line, and it went something like this, okay? And I would ask you for slope-intercept form, hey, what's the b? Well, you would say, oh, this right here is the b. That's the y-intercept, correct? Y-intercept. The b, all of that right there. But you know what? We call it the y-intercept because it crosses our y-axis here. But our line also crosses our x-axis right here. So what do you think we call that? If where it crosses the y-axis is the y-intercept, the x-intercept. Beautiful. X-intercept. X-intercept. Absolutely. And so every line that crosses both the y and the x-axis, they have an x-intercept and a y-intercept. They have these two things going on. Now, here's something else that's of interest. Looking at my b here, looking at my y-intercept, you know, I have, it's a point x comma y, right? And I know that my y-coordinate of this point, you guys remember we talked about points and lines on Tuesday. I know that the y-coordinate of this point is whatever that b is. In this case, it's what? -1. -1 in this case. But what's my x value of this point? Where's my x when it crosses here? It's not 1. It's right here. What's this point right in the center? Well, that's the point 0, 0. And my x value is the same as that. So my x value is 0. So where my y-intercept is, my x value is 0. Likewise, when I'm looking at my x-intercept, well, this looks like it's like 2/3 or something like that. Okay, so it's like 0.6, we'll say. I'm just eyeballing it. But what's my y value for my x-intercept? What is my y at where it crosses the line for my x-intercept? 0, right? It's 0. So for my x-intercept, my y value is 0. Okay. So at the y-intercept, the x is 0. At the x-intercept, the y is 0. You might be thinking, Victor, okay, I get that. Where's this going? Where are you taking me with this? So I'm going to give you guys a sample equation. I'm going to say something like this. I'm going to say 2x minus 5y equals 10. Okay, 2x minus 5y equals 10. Just made this up. Came up with a couple numbers in my head. All right? And so what I want to do with this one is I want to find the intercepts. Let's say I gave you a task and I said, find the x-intercept. I'm very excited about it, so I'm going to make an exclamation point. Find the x-intercept. Let me scoot this up. Well, I see that my x-intercept, my y value is 0, right? So what I'm going to do to find my x-intercept is I'm going to plug what in for y? If at my x-intercept my y value is 0, what do you think I should plug in for y, Connor? 0. Beautiful. So I'm going to plug 0 in. So step 1. Plug 0 in for y. Okay? And then step 2, solve. Solve for x. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Negative 5 times 0 is 0, so I have 2x equals 10. Divide by 2, divide by 2. X equals 5. So this is my x-intercept. I know that my x-intercept is 5. Okay, so I've kind of run out of room, so I'm going to pull up a second piece of paper here to show this. So I'm going to take my graph, just like this. I'll scoot it up just a bit. And I see that my x-intercept is 5. So it's going to cross my x at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I now know that that is a point. It's where x is 5 and y is 0. So I have found my x-intercept. All right. I've done that. I'm very happy about it. I feel great. So now, let's say I have my x-intercept, and I still have 2x minus 5y equals 10. I found my x-intercept. Now I'm asking you to do something different. I'm saying, find the y-intercept. I'm still excited, so it still gets an exclamation point. Okay. Now looking at our steps for finding the x-intercept, what do you think step 1 is? Yeah. If I plug 0 in for y to get my x-intercept, I'm probably going to do the exact same thing, except for this time, I'm plugging in for x. Plug 0 in for x. So let's do that. So I have 2, 0 in for x, minus 5y equals 10. Well, 2 times 0 is 0, so I have negative 5y equals 10. I'm going to divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5. Y equals a negative 2. So I know that negative 2 is my y-intercept. So that's the point. Well, in this case, x is 0, 0, comma, negative 2. Okay, and this is my y-intercept. And
Is Ruth here today?
no.
Okay.
And so now that we have both equations, or both intercepts, I have my x-intercept, I have my y-intercept, I have 2 points on the line. All I have to do is connect my dots. And voila, whoops, that's the ugliest arrow I ever made. Voila, I have graphed my line using the intercepts. So just to recap, on those questions on the homework, if we're going to graph a line in standard form using intercepts, first we find the x-intercept. We find the x-intercept by plugging 0 in for y and solving for x. And then we find the y-intercept. We do that by plugging 0 in for x. And then I didn't write the second step, but it's pretty obvious. Step 2, solve for y. And boom, once we do that, we have our 2 points. We connect the dots, la 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 la, and we are good. And I will stop the recording.